Okay, so we've got our hands on a Z900, the 2020 version. I love the Z900. Let's take it for a ride. The 2020 version is something I haven't tried, and the reason I wanted to try it is because the earlier Z900, the ergonomics were a little bit difficult for me. My knees felt too cramped and squashed. And for the 2020 version, the Z900,
This is still under running, huh?
yeah, I'm just, so Abhishek tells me this is still, the engine is still being run in, so I shouldn't rev it too hard, and so I'm not going to do that. I just want to feel for the bike, but mainly for the ergonomics, because the engine I absolutely love and adore. So let's see how this feels. Okay, so again, your knees are fairly high. The rider triangles are not exactly the most comfortable, but it's not too bad. I mean, all things considered, it's something I would definitely look at. Wow. This is the thing with the the stance is always a problem on the Z900. Your hips really complain. But I guess they need to get used to the stance, and then the engine is really smooth. Again, I'm trying to release my legs by standing up on the bike, and once you do that, it kind of becomes all right. Okay, so wow, this engine is absolutely silky smooth. Oh, suspension's not bad either. So it's actually compared, I just rode the F900 R from the BMW stable, and this actually compares pretty well in terms of the suspension. I mean, the engine I think is a class above, and it's a 4-cylinder engine. You can see the RPM. It's going over all these bumps on the highway, and actually I can't feel them as much as I did on the BMW. So pretty good going. It gives me a lot of confidence to just cut through traffic because there's a lot of control. And remember, now the Z900 comes with all sorts of electronics, which is the problem that the earlier bike didn't have any traction control or anything. I'm really enjoying this ride because it's fairly supple. It's not giving me the same sense of being bounced around that I got on the F900 or on other street bikes. Sometimes you get that feeling. And the engine is an absolute beauty. It's a 4-cylinder engine, smooth, feels like an airplane. The clutch is really light. Electronics are superb. I'm on rain mode. I need to figure out how to change the mode and put it on road mode and then experience this bike. It's a beauty. It's an absolute beauty. By far, this has to be the best bike I've ridden in terms of the engine. By far. Maybe the Street Triple competes a little bit, but I can't think of any other bike that has such a smooth transmission and engine experience when you're riding it on the highway. Oh my god, this This is a joy to experience. It outclasses the BMW. I'm sorry BMW F900R, but you are not in the same weight category as this Boxer. And you know what? It's not doing a bad job at all of holding its own on these roads, which was my biggest concern with these bikes. I mean, it's still not a long distance bike because of the kind of stance that you have, but I can see myself going from Bombay to Pune easily, Mumbai to Pune quite easily. It's also much more flickable than the BMW was. It's a really flickable bike. I'm enjoying guiding it in and out of traffic. And it gives me a great sense of confidence because of the brakes, etc. Whoa. It's a very tractable bike as well, because I'm in 6th gear and it's able to kind of easily potter around a little bit, so you don't have to be in really low gear to be riding this bike. So for example, I'm in 5th gear and I'm going at about 55 kilometers an hour and it's absolutely fine. And again, I went over a big bump, a little bit stiff compared to an adventure bike, but nothing to complain about really. I can see myself riding this all day. It's a really good bike. Let's try and see if we can change the mode here. 2nd gear, neutral comes easily. Let's go to mode. So I've just put it on road mode. This has been an absolute hoot to ride. First gear. There's room to move around in the seat. And while the seat is not still not the most comfortable of seats for long distance rides, if you're going boy, this is an absolute blast. So I think there's some kind of rev limiter on this which doesn't allow me to go beyond 4,000, and despite that I'm having an absolute blast on this bike. This is a new bike, it's kind of in the running in period, so I suppose I can't really run it too hard. You know, having a bike like this opens up some options, because I can see myself definitely riding this bike in the city, and also even to go to Pune sometimes or something for a short ride. Brakes pretty good, chassis feels in control. The last time I had so much fun was when I was riding the Street Triple RS. And this is a 4-cylinder engine, which is even smoother, but it has plenty of grunt. Feels really good, feels nimble. The feel is really nice, the clutch is really light. It has traction control, it has ABS, of course. It always had ABS. But now traction control is part of the mix. I'm not sure if they have a lean sensitive ABS feature or lean sensitive traction control. I don't think so. I don't think they've got this on the bike, but it's got traction control now, which was one of the issues with the bike previously, because when you have so much power, I think it's over 120 horsepower, when you have so much power at hand, you definitely want something to rein in that power, and traction control gives you that peace of mind. But just look at how easy it is to ride even in traffic, because it's tractable. Even in 5th or 6th gears, it's actually running fairly well at lower speeds. They've done some magic with this bike and kind of made it almost perfect. This engine is a beauty of an engine. I wonder why they don't put it in something like an XR. In the sense, a stilted version of this bike with the same engine would be something that would be just phenomenal. But even this bike, I must say, is not really as stiffly set up as other sports bikes are, which is what makes it quite difficult to use them practically on an everyday basis or even on a weekend basis within the city. But this one, quite supple. And literally I'm just in 5th and 6th gears. I'm not even bothering to go down to 2nd or 3rd gear because the engine is so tractable, it's kind of moving it along nicely. Of course, I've only been on the highway so far where it's in its element, and I don't know what it will behave like on the streets, and I probably should go over a couple of speed breakers. But I do see it faring better than the last version of this bike because they've increased the ground clearance a little bit. Very nimble. Seems like a bike that's great at cornering. Fantastic engine. I can't find anything wrong with this bike really. Suspension's pretty good. Brakes are pretty good. Giving me a lot of confidence. Tractable. I was just in 3rd gear at about 25 and it picked up straight from there, no problems. The tires seem to give you a fair amount of grip. Can't really find anything wrong with this bike, except perhaps that the stance over multiple hours may not be very suitable for someone like me. But even I am considering maybe a 3-4 hour journey should be fine. It's an absolutely beautiful bike. Really good machine. Kawasaki have outdone themselves. Okay, 3rd gear, 22. So in 3rd gear I'm crawling along in city traffic at about 25 to 35, no problem. What else would you want from a bike like this? I mean, this bike is so good, I'm having so much fun that I mostly forgot to vlog through the entire journey. Talking less, enjoying the ride more. Wow, what a beautiful bike. Wow, this is an absolute blast. So let's take a look at this bike from afar. Let me give you a view. Alright, so my initial impressions of this bike: an absolute blast, a beautiful machine, fantastic value for money, the best street bike that I've ridden. Now, if that seems like hyperbole exaggerated to you, then I suggest you take this bike for a test run, because it's absolutely a fantastic machine that Kawasaki have put together. It's a 4-cylinder machine, but it still has grunt at the low end. It's very practical because it can run around in the city even on 5th or 6th gear. And really, I can't think of anything else to say about the bike because it's just so good. I guess the only thing that I felt was that perhaps the wheelbase could have been slightly longer and might have been more stable, but then it wouldn't have been so flickable. Maybe a little taller, a little bigger wheelbase, and for my size, I'm 5'11", it might have been nicer, but I'm actually really pleased with that ride. And overall, I must say that the position wasn't really uncomfortable at all. Just the initial time when I got on board and put both knees up, then my hips felt a little bit of strain, but once I straightened up and sat back down again, it's actually been quite comfortable. It's just that this is not a long distance bike. I mean, these things are not meant to be. They're not meant to go touring on. Unless you are 5'6" or something, in that case you could probably use it for that purpose. But otherwise, they're meant to be weekend rides, they're meant to go within the city, they're meant to go on long highways. And for that, I think 3 or 4 hours, if you're riding 3 or 4 hours, it's not a problem at all. You can ride for a couple of hours, take a break, ride another couple of hours. I mean, in 2 or 3 hours, you'll be in Pune on this bike. From, if you're starting from Mumbai. Hi, hi, how do you do? You have no need of bikes, do you? Oh, all right. Okay, this guy likes me, but. And hello, little fellow. But to get back to this bike, what a phenomenal bike. Great brakes, great engine, great traction, a lot of high power, feels great to rev, not very buzzy at all, reasonably smooth. So if you're in the market, if you're about 5'9" of average height and you're in the market for a street bike, I suggest you look no further, because this is a 4-cylinder bike. It's got great supple suspension, it's got a great engine, it's got very decent ergonomics now in the 2020 version of the bike. The 2019, 2018 version, the previous version, whatever it was a little bit cramped to sit on. This is sorted that it's got space on the seat. Of course, if you want a pillion to ride with you, forget about it. That seat is just for decorative purposes. Otherwise, I mean, I had an experience riding the F900R. This is miles ahead, and it's approximately the same price, if not cheaper. But it's a 4-cylinder engine as opposed to a 2-cylinder one. And if you have a preference for a 2-cylinder for some reason, something that feels like an L-twin or a V-twin, then you have the option of the F900R and the Ducati Monster. All right, wonderful. So there's my friend. There's my friend Jason. Social distancing norms. So it's a phenomenal bike. Just go inside. What an absolute hoot. What a bike. What a bike.